said a hip, a hop, a hip it to the hip hip hop, because you don't stop, because this is the FTW podcast, the wrestling world in all its laughable glory. My name is Harrison, and with us tonight is Rob. Say hello, Rob.
You're an idiot.
I'm not an idiot. I'm awesome. I flow, son. And Garvin.
What?
TNA Turning Point 2012 pay-per-view special is coming to you live on November 8th, 2012, or as I like to call it, Skyfall Eve. Tonight we preview Sunday's Turning Point. I'm so excited for that movie. We preview this Sunday. What? I am. I'm going with my wife and my mom. My mom is the biggest James Bond fan I know, and it's going to be awesome. Anyway, tonight we preview this Sunday's Turning Point, as well as react to the Impact Wrestling Go Home show that just went off the air 4 minutes ago. If you're new to the show, check out theftwpodcast.com for more about us and how to get involved in tonight's discussion, as well as upcoming discussions. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook. All those links and information is listed right there at ftwpodcast.com. We're just going to dip a toe into Impact, because we talk about this a lot on Tuesday. Only two things that we really want to talk about in Impact, and one, we're just going to go right into it. Luke Gallows apparently is just a prospect, is how they book him in. And they actually give him a new moniker, which is Director of Chaos, or Doc, that I really hope was not their final draft, because it really sounds like the first idea, and then you move on from there. I don't know. I really think it just feels, I don't want to say lazy. It just kind of, I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Rob? I
dare somebody to argue with me that the Aces and Eights storyline is being made up as it goes along. I dare somebody.
No argument here. I would have given you an argument like way back in the beginning, but no argument here.
A Diva Jill might argue.
Well, she always argues.
Yeah. Diva Jill will argue just to argue, man. That's what she does.
That's how she rolls. All right, so Garv, what do you think? DOC, Director of Chaos, Doc, whatever you want to call it.
I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but I'm unsure like what they're doing. Like why aren't they giving him an actual name? Because it seemed like in the commentary last week that everyone should know who this guy is, and then this week they're giving him this Doc moniker, and it's like, well, should we not know who he is because now they're like hiding his name? It just seems really strange. But I'm not totally against the moniker itself.
Well, it's clear this is going to be this guy. This is going to be Gallows' gimmick for the time being, because the entire show, they made sure they hit on it. I mean, when he was in ring, out of ring, whatever, they made sure they hit on it every chance they could to really burn that into our brains. So that's this guy. I mean, this is it. Gallows is now Doc until either Aces and Eights storyline ends or he has amnesia. I don't know. But that is now his gimmick for a while, or maybe maybe he'll be the next Cyborg instead of Angle.
Yeah, I forget during the tag team match how many times. And the Director of Chaos, dude,
with an arm bar. Every time he did something, they made sure to say Director of Chaos or Doc.
Yeah,
as the kids say these days.
It's like, really.
No, to me it really. I mean, it makes sense if it was Director of Chaos, Luke Gallows, Director of Chaos. I mean, just give him a name, I mean, I don't see why it has to be that's it,
My point is, there were a lot of points in the commentary that they could have made it simpler just by saying Doc. They didn't have to use the title 500 million times. Well, and they do the same thing with Devon and the Sergeant of Arms, Devon. Okay, yeah, we get it. We know his title with Aces and Eights. Move on.
Yeah, he's Devon. I think the worry is if you use Doc without specifying as Doctor of Chaos, they're going to run into like a Isaac Yankem DDS situation where he's technically, they're playing him off as a doctor or something. Like it just kind of harkens back to that whole disaster. All right, so we're ambivalent about Doc. But as far as the show itself, Impact, the Go Home show, this is something that we I don't know. I don't want to say we criticize Impact or TNA pretty hard for, but it's definitely something that we find them lacking. Do you think they're doing better this week than previous weeks? or previous pay-per-views? Aside from Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory is that's a blip. We can't count that one. But as far as other, standard pay-per-views, do you think they're getting better, Rob?
I do. I mean, at least we saw a little bit more focus on Turning Point. They actually mentioned the pay-per-view by name. Kudos to them. The in-ring action was good. They had a lot of matches. Most of their card was geared towards matches that were relevant or in some way served to either set up or push the card for Turning Point. So that was a good thing. I think they're getting a little bit better. They're not quite as good as the WWE can be when they decide to push a major pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as TNA as a company, they seem to be getting a little bit better.
Okay, Garv, what do you think?
I think overall, I mean, not every go home show needs to be amazing.
Right.
I think they built up the pay per view. Okay. The live chat saying that they thought it was built pretty well. Every match had something to do with Turning Point. So you have to also keep that in mind that even though they weren't as, you should watch Turning Point to see how this is going to turn out. Like, they weren't that heavy on it, but they were doing things that was still leading to the climax, which is Turning Point.
Yeah, it was, for me, it was one of those situations where they were kind of hitting the, I'm a big TNA wrestling fan, but I don't know if I really want to get the pay-per-view. And then this gives you an excuse to do it. They're not converting. They're basically preaching to the converted with this one. And I don't know how I feel about that, because on the one hand, you're really not going to grow that much with it, but maybe TNA is like, where we know the audience that we have right now. We're still trying to do it incrementally, and this is how we're going to coast. This is how we're going to do this one, which is fine. I mean, if, the fact that if Turning Point was being shown at a bar, within 15 minutes of my house, and they were doing 25-cent wing night, I would consider going.
The live chat is saying they referenced it without being ham-fisted like WWE is normally.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
true.
But I think everybody here could agree that there is a middle ground there where you can kind of hype up your pay-per-views a little bit more without being WWE.
Yeah, I see room for improvement, but like I said, I see TNA getting better.
Okay.
And from the aspect of being a TNA fan myself, that's pretty much all that I ask, is that they get a little bit better in the places that they need to improve on.
Okay. All right, that's fair. Garvin, any final thoughts, or are we ready?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just that, I think I was, even without tonight's show, I think I'm still excited about the same matches that I was excited about last week. So, as far as a go-home show, sure, it could look to be a bit mediocre, not as exciting as it could have been, but it didn't change my opinion on how things are going and what I'm still looking forward to. And that's probably a bad way to look at it. That they should have been trying to convert people who haven't made that decision yet. Obviously we've made that decision because that's what we do here on the FTW podcast. We watch pay-per-views.
Yes.
So.
Whether we like to or not.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's just dive right into Turning Point then. So this Sunday we get Turning Point. I look at this, and considering the Aces and Eights storyline, the thing I find it most interesting about it is that basically we have two. The only thing that really concerns the Aces and Eights storyline is we have two matches that aren't. I don't want to go, Rob. I don't really want to say big, but I mean it's Joseph Park versus Doc. Basically, this was booked this week, or I mean you could kind of say last week when Doc showed up, and Devon and Kurt Angle, which is basically 2 weeks old. I mean, Aces and Eights is a huge storyline, and this is what we have at Turning Point. I mean, do you see that as a problem?
Not really. I mean, Devon versus Kurt Angle is a big time matchup because you've got Devon, who's an established wrestler. He's been in the business forever. He's got a laundry list of titles and accomplishments and accolades, and then you've got Kurt freaking Angle, who's pretty much takes Devon's list and says, well, that's not bad for a beginner. Here's my list.
Yeah. Yeah, really. No, I'm not arguing that these two guys are talented. I'm just saying as far as storyline purposes. Okay, look, I'm just going to say it. The cynic in me looks at Devon and Kurt Angle and says, that's fantastic. That's my appetizer. I want Devon Bully Ray in a tables match. I mean, that's what everybody wants to see. So Devon versus Kurt Angle just feels like an appetizer, like a placeholder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. And, I want to see Devon and Bully Ray as much as anybody else. But there's room for that later on, especially since TNA is making the storyline up as they go along. They can start in on that anytime they want. Hey, we should probably do something like that. Director of Chaos, or Doc, if you want to call him that, versus Joseph Park. I would be upset about this match, but they've given Doc a huge push tonight by having him just. Well, I guess we're supposed to believe. I guess we're supposed to believe that he crippled Sting tonight, even though the medics didn't know thing one about how to remove a man injured from the ring.
Well, come on, Rob. Everybody knows that when someone is massively injured in a car wreck, you have them get up and move under their own power while you guide them to the ambulance.
Outside of that, though, I mean, do we all agree that was like one of the most violent things that we've seen on TV in a while?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was cringing for minutes after that happened. Oh my God, a hammer! That went for so long.
That's definitely something that you would not see in WWE, and that's pushing the limits for even TNA.
Yeah, prop hammer, whatever. The fact was, your mind saw metal hitting kidney, and you were like, "Ooh!"
And it still sounded pretty solid, regardless of what it actually was per se. But
when it picked up whatever they used, when it was hitting Sting, it sounded like an actual hammer. And Garvin, I was right there with you. I'm cringing. I'm like, ooh, that's a broken hand. Oh, he's going to be pissing blood tonight. I'm just counting the injuries in my head.
I was not aware that Rob was such an expert at hitting 50-year-old men with hammers, but there we go.
Hey, everyone's got to have their talent.
Everyone's got hobbies.
Hey, real quick point. We were just talking about Bully. It's surprising Bully is not on this card.
In a match. Yeah, he is not in a match at all. That was going to be my other point before we dive into match by match. Yeah, Bully Ray is not on this card at all. I mean, do we see an appearance by him? I mean, aside from a segment, do we see him possibly involved in the Devon Kurt Angle match? Do we see him coming to the defense of Joseph Park against Doc? I mean, what do we see?
I think we're going to see him get involved in one of the matches. We might see him try to put Devon through a table again. I would bet that he'll show up to kind of help Joseph Park. I believe that Doc is going to will just pummel Joseph Park into mush, and you'll see Bully Ray come out and try to defend Joseph Park.
Yeah, with the way that Bully basically, came to Joseph Park's defense tonight.
Which all bullies are known to do.
Right. Standing up to Hogan saying, you need to give him this match. I think for sure we'll see him in his corner in some way.
I know, Rob, you're not really looking forward to I mean, I don't want to say not looking forward, but you're not. I'm really, for me, the dark horse for not maybe match, but thing of the night would be Doc versus Joseph Park, because Gallows has the size to really throw someone around, and they're giving him that kind of character, and Abyss can take a bump. And I really think those two, they wouldn't have booked this if they didn't, especially following on the heels of Rude and Storm last week, if they didn't think they could do something special there. And I think we're going to get to the point where we're going to be like, holy crap. Like, we're just going to see Gallows obliterate Joseph Park. And if at the end Bully Ray shows up, that's fine. But I really think this is going to be the dark horse of the one thing that everyone's going to be talking about, at least on this show on Tuesday.
I think so, too. One of the things that I'd like to see them do with this match is I'd like to see them use this as a setup to bring Abyss back.
I would, too.
Like you said, have Doc just completely obliterate Joseph Park. Just have him
knock
crush
the sense
him
out of him.
and then next Thursday on Impact, we start seeing messages from Abyss, saying, okay, you beat up my my brother, you beat up my little brother, and now I'm coming to take your ass out.
Yeah,
so you basically bring Abyss back as a face?
Yeah.
I don't see why not. I think it's been long enough. People want to see Abyss. I mean, he wasn't really a face when he left, but he was liked. I mean, he was in like that early Bully Ray camp where he was so good you had to like him.
Yeah,
And,
but you're looking at this as, knowing that it would basically be Abyss teaming with Bully Ray and Joseph Park on the same side. That seems kind of odd.
I don't think so. I think if they book it to where Joseph Park's in the hospital or something, you can write him out. Come on, dude. They did the kidnapping storyline. They can do anything with Joseph Park at this point. You knock him out, put him in the hospital. Then you have next pay-per-view, Doc and Devon versus Abyss and Abyss and Bully Ray. Yeah, I guess you could do that. I mean, that would be a pretty solid well, maybe not a main event, but that'd be a pretty solid match for a pay-per-view. I'm saying there's room here. Rob's got a good point. I think there's room to let's start moving Joseph Park away from this. I mean, he's been in this storyline for 2 months now. Let's start bringing back Abyss. I think bringing that edge in, because right now all of the hardcore kind of like badass side between the Aces and Eights and TNA storyline is between TNA. This is called Turning Point. TNA names their pay-per-views for a reason. I really think this would be a great opportunity to bring Abyss back and really put some more badass kind of heat on the TNA side. Because with Bully Ray going to the not so Bully Ray, you lost that.
All right, just to clarify, if we bring back Abyss now at Turning Point, do you keep Joseph Park on TV or do you get rid of him altogether?
I say you get rid of him. I say you hospitalize him, not kidnap, because we already did that. I mean,
slowly write him out.
Yeah, not totally write him out. Just write him out temporarily. Get him out for 2 weeks, 2 months, something.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, come on, Zima Ion. If you can get rid of Zima Ion, I mean, just do that. Just kind of like just take him off TV.
Do that.
just Zima Ion him. No, I mean, come on. They already kidnapped Abyss twice, essentially. So yeah, just do that with him. I mean, Rob, are you with me on that one? Just hospitalize him.
I mean, you present a completely feasible and pretty good way. I mean, have a couple segments where we see Joseph Park in the hospital. Use that as fuel to bring Abyss. You can use that as fuel to bring Abyss back, and you can use that as an excuse for why Joseph Park isn't on TV anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, it's gift wrapped. I mean, it's really not really my idea. It's the Great Lakes Christmas sale that I had about 20 minutes ago. That's really starting to kick in. So
it's gonna knock you out.
Mostly the beer. It's gonna knock you out. It's not gonna knock me out after one beer, Garvin, because I am not a 14-year-old girl that's used to Zima. So, all right. So let's just dive right into the card now. I want to get rolling on this. Devon versus Kurt Angle. Anybody changing their picks? I still like Kurt Angle for this, especially after what happened tonight with Sting getting injured.
I got to go with Cyborg.
Stop it, Rob. Stop it. Carv, you changing your pick?
Absolutely not. I am not changing my pick.
Okay.
Devon has to win this to keep Aces and Eights looking strong. I mean, realistically, outside of...
Aces and Eights didn't look strong when they took Sting out and turned his insides to mush.
But...
that wasn't Devon doing that, though.
I mean, okay, sure. But look at everything that they've done with Aces and Eights over the last 4 weeks. It generally ends in a no contest, all-out brawl. They need a solid win behind them.
And they're going to get that solid win, just not against Kurt Angle.
Yeah, Kurt Angle is expendable. I think for sure. I agree.
I
would
love to see you walk up to Kurt Angle's face and tell him he's expendable.
I agree. He's the cyborg and should win. Man. But the thing is that I think Devon wins this.
All right. That's a fair point. We'll just assume Lee and Joe agree with you. All right. Doc versus Joseph Park. Man, this one, I don't know. This one, because it's one of those situations where it could really just evolve into a cluster, like we're talking about with a brawl, and then who knows really how they're going to win, because at that point the win or loss is moot because you're getting the heat out of the brawl. So I have a hard time picking this one. I don't know. I mean, maybe go Joseph Park because this isn't a no DQ match, right? This is just a straight up match.
As far as I know, it's just a normal wrestling match.
Yeah, I mean, all we got was the one segment today, so they didn't really flesh it out too much. It's not even on the website, so we can't even refer to that.
Well,
I'm gonna say Joseph
has a shitty IT department.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say Joseph Park, if only because I just see DQ on this one. I just see DQ all over this. That's for me. Garv, where are you landing on this one?
I could also see a DQ. With the Bully Ray factor, he comes out and helps Joseph Park, and then it ends up in a brawl. I think this would be a match that I could see go into a brawl versus having like a real ending. Yeah, I mean, as far as like Doc goes, just per the storyline that they're running, Doc had to basically redeem himself tonight for what happened last week, and that pretty much happened from everything that we saw. So if he got a loss this week, or I'm sorry, at the pay-per-view, I don't think it would be as big of a deal. But I still
a very
think
good point.
I still think it would end in a no DQ. I don't see Aces and Eights taking both matches.
Okay, so you're gonna take Joseph Park then with me?
No, I'm gonna say DQ, like double DQ.
So you're going
it's gonna get thrown out, yeah.
All right, so double DQ. Garvin, sorry. Yeah, it's a really good point, Garv. I mean, yeah, Doc or Gallows, he doesn't really need the heat coming out of basically eliminating Sting from in-ring competition. So, yeah, I could definitely see the fact that Doc really doesn't need this victory to cement himself. I mean, those hammer shots were rough. Chad's saying, no. Doc puts Park through the ring, and after the celebration, Abyss erupts from the hole in the ring and proceeds to, clear house. So basically, you would have Park go through the middle of the ring into the hole, have Joseph Park change underneath the ring, and then pop out like a whack-a-mole to pull Doc. No, they can't do. Well, it's different than when Kane does it because Kane pulls people into it. So he'd be getting up and then destroying everybody. I don't know about that one. That one's kind of because that basic. Well, okay, if that's the scenario you're going with, then you're putting Doc versus Joseph Park as the last match of the night.
No, because I'm totally with you with that logic that there's a hole in the ring. How can you continue?
Yeah,
there's a hole in the ring. You can't use it anymore.
But I gotta say that they've done something like this on Raw. I'm trying to think like when Kane pulled Zack Ryder through. When was that? That wasn't a pay-per-view. That was like a Raw, wasn't it? Or was that a SmackDown that they taped it?
Yeah, I think it was a SmackDown that they taped it, and because they taped it, they could have easily taken a ton of time to go out there and do it, and then just fix the edit.
I don't know, but the idea. Okay, I'm sorry. The live chat is saying that was at the end of a Raw. Okay, so that would make sense in that situation. The idea of Abyss coming out during that match, I can see. I'm totally behind that idea, but not through the ring. I think through the ring would be hard to pull off because of the timing.
Yeah, you're talking about it's a great idea, but you're talking about doing it live in a pay-per-view. There's a lot of because not only do you have to hope that Doc puts Park through the right part of the ring so he lands next to his bag that has his clothes in there. If you've ever had to change clothes inside a very small space, it's very difficult to do, let alone someone shaped like Joseph Park. So I don't see this one happening unless Park is wearing Abyss clothes underneath. Then all he has to do is just pop the hoodie and the mask and he jumps out. But then you'd be able to tell because he'd be wearing boots underneath his suit. So I don't know. Anyway, okay, so moving on. TV Championship. This is a no DQ match. Samoa Joe versus Magnus. I'm sticking with Magnus. Only because they both look pretty good tonight. I just like the idea that we were talking about on Tuesday of the TV Championship. Of all the ones that change hands, become hot potato, this is the one I'd be okay with. So I'm sticking with my choice of Magnus.
Yeah, and let's rehash that discussion a little bit, okay?
Oh, yeah, sure.
The thing is that it's not necessarily hot potatoing the title because that has a negative connotation to it. It's that you're adding excitement to a division that really hasn't had excitement to it, before. You look at Devon, you look at EY. They held the titles for so long that you knew that they were just going to win because they really had nothing else going on. Also because they were facing Robbie E and random celebrities. But now
random celebrities.
Now with the title on Samoa Joe going up against Magnus, I think that's a better situation to see Magnus win because their storyline is gonna, or I'm sorry, their feud is gonna continue past Turning Point. If Magnus loses, what else do you do with Magnus? Because he has lost every single time that they have faced outside of tonight.
Well, but see, that's also the point. You have to take a look at the fact that Magnus got the pin on Samoa Joe tonight. Usually,
yeah, logic dictates.
Usually, when that happens before a pay-per-view, the other guy is going to win.
Yeah, that's a fair point, Rob, but I'm kind of with Garvin on this one because it seems like every time Magnus and Samoa Joe step in the ring, they each get just a little bit better. I mean, Magnus has come leaps and bounds from whenever someone wrote in, I want to say a month ago, asking us why he's not top talent, and we always said, well, he's just lacking that thing. And it feels like every time he gets in the ring with Samoa Joe, he gets closer and closer to finding it. So I could see this, and when I say hot potato, I don't want to say negative connotation. I'm saying bounce the title around because really, theoretically, you're supposed to see the TV championship a lot more than you see the tag team championship and the world championship, which are basically only defended on pay-per-views. So the TV championship can be defended and lost on on an Impact. So it makes sense to kind of bounce it around a little bit because you're going to see it in the ring a lot more.
Yeah, like I said, I think this is a great opportunity to put the title on Magnus, at least temporarily. Maybe give him an extended run for a month or so. Yeah. But I think to continue this feud because overall, I think we can all agree that we like what Magnus and Samoa Joe have been doing in the ring, out of the ring, in those backstage segments and everything. And I'd like to see that continue. And the only way I can see that continuing is if Magnus gets the title.
Yeah, they have they have the beginnings of a really, really great chemistry going, and it's kind of exciting to see that form from two guys who, I don't know, it just makes you wonder why they didn't really try this before. So Rob, are you planning to change your vote, or are you going to stick with Joe?
I'm going to stick with Samoa Joe. He can win at Turning Point, and Magnus can always win on an Impact or something to continue the feud.
Okay. All right, that works. Now we have a couple of speculation matches, and when we say speculation matches, we are 99% sure that they're booked, but we're not 100% sure because they're not on the site. Again, go TNA IT department. The X Division Championship, RVD versus Joey Ryan. I think they threw a graphic up at Impact. I'm not quite sure, but this should be an X Division Championship match. Anybody thinking RVD is going to drop this belt to Joey Ryan? Do you think Joey Ryan gets the strap so early in his career?
No.
So, Rob, you're going RVD. Hands down, RVD.
Yeah.
Okay. Garv, what do you think?
Harrison, you go first.
Damn it. I don't know. I really don't. We haven't seen RVD at all since he won the belt, and we've seen Joey Ryan a lot, and he is really, really good, and maybe putting the belt on him will do something. I mean, with Christian York being signed, they can put him in the X Division, give Joey Ryan someone to go against, RVD to kind of play that, grandpa figure that they beat up on. I don't know. Rob, honestly, if Christian York was not signed tonight, I'd be with you saying RVD, but the fact that Christian York is there and he is so ring ready, I gotta say Joey Ryan, because now that they're starting to build up that division steady bit by steady bit, and giving Joey Ryan the belt right now when he is so hot would be a great shot in the arm for that division. All right, so there, I said my piece.
Just to clarify, RVD was there last week. He lost to Joey Ryan in a non-title match.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay, so but yeah, I mean, as far as this match goes, I'm also kind of torn. I don't really want to see the title being taken off of RVD just because he just got it and because I think he can help build up the division. But at the same time, this is, they've been building up Joey Ryan as a solid competitor, and we've seen him, take on Al Snow at Bound for Glory. He beat RVD last week. Mm-hmm. I think that this would be a good opportunity to put him into the mix. Yeah.
And I do want to kick out there the Tuesday immediately after Bound for Glory. We talked about RVD winning the title a lot, and we basically all came to the conclusion that he's a placeholder.
Oh yeah, and no doubt.
But I don't think they're gonna give it to Joey Ryan, because thus far the big wins that Joey Ryan has had, including the non-title win over RVD, I believe, were thanks to interference by Matt Morgan, who Hogan banned from ringside tonight.
Right.
Yeah, but just because he's been banned doesn't mean he's not going to show up. I mean, so I think Matt Morgan will definitely play a role in this match. Because that's basically what was implied in that backstage segment. Like, Hogan knew what he was going to do. So I think it's going to happen. I would also back Joey Ryan to win the title. I'm not sure if I think he's going to be a strong champion, but I think you have to give it to a guy who has one of the major focal points on him at this point. So yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely do that. I would definitely give him the strap, see what happens, see if he does something. And then the other reason for Christian York being signed, throw him the X Division title. That's a veteran now in Christian York that's working with Joey Ryan, who's still a greenhorn. And Rob, you do bring up a good point. Joey Ryan's only victory came in his interference. The guy is still basically brand new. So there is some room there that you can work with him. You have RVD, you have Christian York. I mean, RVD can throw together a good match if he needs to. All right, chat's saying Ryan beats RVD, and then we get a 4-way number one contenders match between RVD, Ion, York, and Dutt. You want to bring Sanjay Dutt back into this?
Yes.
Sanjay Dutt is awesome.
No, I know, but is he... All right. All right. I think that's kind of sudden to bring Sanjay Dutt back right into a number one contenders match. I'd like to see him in the ring at least once or twice before they do that. But
well, sure. I think we'd all like to see every single member of the X Division be on TV at least once.
Yeah, between each pay-per-view. That's a good point, yeah. It's just the suddenness of, hey, remember Sanjay Dutt? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he's that Indian guy, right? Yes, he's that bald Indian guy. Thank you.
He was pretty good, wasn't he? All right, so
he's that bald Indian guy who separated his shoulder and came back out and wrestled an Ultimate X match.
Let's not talk about that anymore. That was so gross. And bravo to him. I mean, yeah, win of the fucking month for that one. All right, so this one is speculation on a couple points. I mean, we know Terra and Spectacular versus ODB and EY is happening. We're just not sure if this is a knockout tag team championship match. ODB and EY have the straps, and we know that EY's show was picked up, so move it off to them and put it on Terra and Spectacular. Once again, nothing on the website. So we're just moving forward that it could be a tag match. And I'm just going to go out and say, if the belts are on the line, Terra and Spectacular win. And they get the straps off of them, get EY out of there, and then make ODB hate Terra. I don't know. But that's where I stand.
Just clarifying, we don't know this is going to be a match. It was suggested by ODB with that voicemail she left EY, but because we haven't seen EY on TV for so long, who knows if he's actually going to show up, especially with all the rumors going around that, he's on his way out. So,
yeah.
But yeah, go ahead, continue.
No, that's my point. Is if this match happens and if the belts are on the line, Terra and Spectacular, and I'm sorry, what is the guy's his ring name, not who he was in FC or Ohio Valley or wherever he was before.
Jesse Goddard's.
And that's what they're calling him.
Jesse Goddard's Mr. Spectacular.
All right, so Goddard's. All right, turn off caps lock. Okay, all right. Okay, so they're keeping that. Okay. Rob, you're going with ODB and EY?
Yeah, because I don't think the titles are going to be on the line, and because I just traded Madison Rayne for ODB, so I desperately need the points.
You do. You really, yeah, you would need. Well, look at it this way, Rob. You have predicted 1, 2, 3 matches that both Joe and Lee have not. So you have a chance to make up a lot of points because they're not here tonight. So.
Well, I was talking in the draft as well as our predictions.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying in the draft because they're not here to make prediction to pick for. Oh wait, yeah, never mind. I had that backwards. All right, sorry. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, that Christmas sale's kicking in. All right, Garv, what do you think?
Well, I want to bring this up again on Tuesday, depending on what happens, and that is if EY is in fact gone, what do you do with ODB? I think we're going to see some kind of friction in their relationship as far as during this match.
Mm-hmm.
But
Chicken.
yeah, so I don't know necessarily what they're gonna do as far as the next step in this storyline. It keeps moving towards ODB is getting more and more frustrated that he's not responding to her calls. He's not being a very good husband. I'm not sure why they're doing that, though. I don't know. Regardless, what I do know is that I don't think that the titles will be on the line, but I am also with you, Harrison. Tara and Goddard would win, just because I think a feud going back and forth makes more sense, and because ODB got the win tonight, I think it would make more sense for Tara and Jesse to get the win next week, so that the next pay-per-view we would see ODB versus Tara for the title.
She looked good too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess regardless of the outcome of Turning Point, we would see that title match. But yeah, I don't know. So, but I'm still going with Tara and Jesse.
Yeah, I really got to be honest. ODB is their keystone for that division. She is unstoppable as far as the talent. She looks so comfortable in the ring, on the mic. You cannot. You just there's no stopping her. I mean, at this point, just shovel as much money you have to at her to keep her, because she's just one of those talents that don't come along very often. Chet's saying ODB pins Tara, and when Jesse tries to attack her, EY assaults him with the EY assaults him with the composite bow he uses for fishing. Whoo!
That would be epic.
I imagine he would not actually shoot the man, but I can see him actually hitting him with it.
Real quick correction. He did. This is from Nick in the live chat. He said compound bone or compound bow.
Oh yeah, because it's got the police and everything. Yeah. I'm not a hunter.
Yeah, neither am I. I don't know. I still have an issue of like what they're doing with EY. I almost don't see him showing up at the pay-per-view.
That would be a travesty.
It would be.
And not just a travesty because he looks like a little Garvin. Like I like to imagine a redneck Garvin, but that would just be. I think that would be just a huge mistake, because it would just be a waste.
Sure, and because he does resemble me, you would think that he would be a man and show up and be like all gentleman-like and do the right thing and help out his wife. Bring her some chicken. She's been asking for
beer.
3 months.
And beer.
Well, of course, of course.
He would show up to the ring, take off his shoes, and be barefoot while he's up there, because that's what you do. And he would giggle. Giggle a lot. All right, Tag Team Championships. Chavo and Hernandez versus Kaz and Daniels. Every single one of us on Tuesday predicted that Chavo and Hernandez retain. Anybody think that's not the case? Even though Kaz and like Rob said, law of averages, Kaz and Daniels got the win today, so odds are they're going to lose tomorrow. I'm sorry, Sunday. Anybody changing their pick?
Nope.
No, but I do need to make
the points.
I do need to make the declaration that I don't like Chavo and Hernandez. I don't like that tag team.
Can I say
that's
I
only
am like
because you want Samoa Joe and Hernandez as a tag team?
Well, when that was tweeted to us, I think that was Atomic Deke again. Yeah, I like that idea better. But I don't know. Just the Chavo and Hernandez thing is not clicking for me. I just don't think they're handling it properly.
And I don't think it's.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go on. No. Go ahead. Finish your thought, and then I'll jump in.
It's just like after last week, they brought Hector in. It seemed like they were gonna push the boundaries a little bit and really put a driving force into this feud. And then this week, it was just like it was a match, but they combined it with another match for Turning Point. So it's like I don't know. It didn't have the right feeling to me, and for some reason, I just can't get behind. Chavo and Hernandez.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one, and I mean, you can take a lot of flack for this if you want, but between Chavo and Hernandez, I'm starting to like Hernandez more. I really think he's starting to mature into somebody who can really do some great things as far as singles wrestling. And I mean, yeah, that tweet's pretty good. Samoa Joe and Hernandez as a tag team would be pretty awesome to watch.
Well, but
Because
Hernandez is not consistent though. I mean, look at the tag match that they won the titles on. He I mean, there was
yeah,
a lot of problems with that match, especially from him.
Hernandez has not been a consistent wrestler since LAX, and you can make an argument that he wasn't a consistent wrestler then.
but
Homicide
look,
at a lot of times was the driving force for that tag team.
oh yeah, hands down, Homicide was great there. But no, I mean when I say that, I mean if you look at Chavo and Hernandez now, and then I mean if you look at Hernandez where he was when he was at LAX versus now, he's trying new things. He's pushing himself outside his comfort zone. Whereas Chavo, you don't feel that. You feel like Chavo is going out there and he's just going through the motions. He's doing Eddie stuff. You know, it just feels like he's cruising, whereas Hernandez he's trying new things. He's pushing himself. And yeah, you know, you'll see cracks in the foundation there, you know, as far as botches and stuff like that. But
yeah, Chavo is definitely limiting himself to the Guerrero moveset. One of the things that I really like about Hernandez is, I mean, this is a guy who voluntarily took time off from TNA and went down to Mexico specifically to help develop his moveset, to help develop himself and broaden what he can do a little bit.
yeah, exactly. And you can kind of tell there's some growing pains. I mean, it's always for me. It's always exciting watching guys like when Austin Aries first came on, and Joey Ryan now, and now Hernandez. Watching these guys, you know, grow and try new things and see their styles mature and change. And for me, that's why I look at Hernandez and Chavo, and I want to see more Hernandez and less Chavo. All right, so Chad's saying if Chavo and Hernandez stick together as a team, I want the feud with Gunner and Cash to resume. Garv, you got something to say about that?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think I liked what they were doing with Gunner and Cash better than what they're doing with Kaz and Daniels, which is surprising because I really love Kaz and Daniels in the ring. I think they were a great tag team, and it's kind of weird that I'm looking at a feud with Kaz and Daniels to be subpar compared to a feud with Gunner and Cash.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why that would be a better feud is first and foremost with Cash and Daniels. I mean, you had there's history between Kid Cash and Chavo Guerrero, whereas there's not any real history. I mean, they're trying to create a feud between Chavo and Kaz and Daniels with bringing in Hector Guerrero and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
One of the things I think is holding Chavo back in the current feud is, you know, he just doesn't really. There's not a whole lot for him to build a feud on with Kaz and Daniels.
Well, right. For me, it has nothing to do with history. I think it's just just wrestling styles. You know,
Okay.
I think Cash and Chavo work better. You know, because they're both kind of physical, especially with like Hernandez. I think Hernandez is very physical and can bounce off of Cash and Gunner better than a Cass and Daniels because they're flippies.
Yeah, Cass and Daniels really cannot. Cass and Daniels are really overmatched when Hernandez gets into the ring, and you see that every time.
I'm sorry, flippies? Is that from the Stu Hart School of Wrestling? That terminology there? They're flippies?
That is a proper term, sir.
It's a proper term.
Rob, I want to kick this out to you, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but specifically about Kaz and Daniels. Since the AJ storyline, do you feel like Daniels is kind of lost creatively? I just can't. When I see Daniels now versus when they were just about to start doing the AJ storyline, I see Daniels now, and it almost looks like he's kind of, I don't want to say lost, but just kind of like, you know, what the hell was that? You know, he's kind of maybe burnt out. Is my point. I mean, real quick.
Yeah, I think there's a wide range of that, and you know, when you look at Daniels and AJ Styles you wonder, it's real easy to wonder why one of them made it big and one of them didn't. That would be the reason. AJ Styles can move from one storyline to another. Daniels, when he's not feuding with AJ Styles, he doesn't really look that good. It's really hard to fit Daniels into other storylines outside of feuding with AJ Styles or being AJ Styles' friend. Some way or another, he has to be involved with AJ Styles. And I think that's one of the reasons why his career in TNA has been up and down.
That's a really good point, Rob, because when they are working together, holy crap, it's gold. It's gold through and through. These two know how to work each other. All right, so let's move on to the world title number 1 contendership match. This is the one where the loser, the first person pinned, well, basically the person who's pinned, becomes unable to compete for for the world championship until Bound for Glory 2013, assuming the Mayans were incorrect. Right now, the way it stands, we're actually, Rob and I are picking James Storm to win this. And all three of us are saying Robert Roode's going to lose it, but Garvin's saying AJ is going to win. Anybody changing their vote as far as this? Because I'm still kind of happy with my choice of James Storm winning, Robert Roode loses.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my vote too. I mean, I'd like to say AJ Styles gets pinned because, as we discussed Tuesday, there are ways around it. But given the fact that Robert Roode is currently the record holder for longest title reign, and TNA continues to remind us of that, I think he more than AJ Styles can afford to wait until Bound for Glory 2013 to get another title shot.
Man, this is like almost polar opposite to what you were saying on Tuesday. Saying AJ Styles was young. He's the youngest of all three of them.
Yeah, right.
Well, we get what you're. No, Rob, I don't want to get into it again. We know what you were saying. You weren't saying he was young. You were saying he, career-wise, he could most afford it. But you bring up a good point with the title reign. Garv, do you want to change your vote? Because you have AJ right now winning.
Just clarifying, he is not the youngest. Okay, now.
No, he's not. Okay, let's not.
AJ Styles is not the actual youngest out of it.
We're getting into it now, and I said we're not getting into it, so let's not get into it.
Sorry,
Garvin.
That's my fault.
Damn it! Yeah, that's your fault. Let's move on. Are you changing from AJ?
I am not, and I'm staying with AJ. AJ wins, and I'm also bringing in just moving forward what matches we could see. AJ Styles versus Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles versus Austin Aries. Both of those would be awesome. Could you say the same thing about James Storm and Robert Roode versus those two guys? I don't know.
James Storm versus Austin Aries would be a pretty good match. I don't know about James Storm versus Jeff Hardy. Not yet. I mean, maybe get Storm sometime. Keep in mind,
we had Robert Roode versus Jeff Hardy. That wasn't that good a match.
No.
James Storm versus Jeff Hardy could be an interesting matchup.
But I still like AJ versus those two guys better.
Oh, I think AJ Styles versus either Austin Aries or Jeff Hardy's is ratings gold. I just think that TNA feels indebted, for lack of a better term, to James Storm. And because James Storm has waited so long, and basically he's fallen on his sword to help push Robert Roode, I think this is the point where TNA is going to say, okay, you took the hit for the company to push another wrestler. Now we're going to reward you.
One point, Rob. Are you suggesting that you would rather TNA go with James Storm because of what he's sacrificed, okay, versus get better ratings by having AJ Styles in that match? Because you basically said that that would be a better ratings match.
If you listen to what I said, I did not say that's what I want to happen. I said I believe TNA is going to reward James Storm. That is not the same as me saying that's what I want to happen. Okay. I believe TNA is going to reward James Storm. I want AJ Styles to win.
Okay.
I just don't think he will.
Chad saying Styles versus Aries would create some big time buzz, and I could definitely see that too, because it's almost like a I don't want to say passing of the guard, but you kind of have the AJ Styles who really built TNA, and then you can kind of look at Austin Aries as far as who he is and who he could be as like the next huge talent to come out of TNA, or at least the next huge talent in TNA, coming up through them. I could definitely see AJ versus Austin Aries almost being like a passing of the torch type of thing. Chad's saying if Storm doesn't get pinned, he could still challenge for the title next month. I wouldn't kill Storm if he didn't win a Turning Point. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think the idea that maybe AJ gets over on Rude, Storm doesn't win or lose, and it doesn't really hurt him. That's a fair point too. And then he would still get the reward of having the title.
Well, actually,
challenge
the
next
winner
month
of this match, gets the title shot at Final Resolution next month.
So you can have Storm wrestle afterwards. I think that Chad's right in saying, Rob, if you want to change your vote from James Storm to AJ Styles, you can still have your cake and eat it too. Because James Storm, James Storm could be rewarded in the future, but this next world #1 contendership could go to AJ, and I'm not gonna change my vote because I don't think
I'm not either. With all of the momentum they've been putting behind James Storm lately, I think TNA has decided that now's the time that they're going to
and it's due.
Reward him. I mean, it's due. You can make the argument that coming off of the Bound for Glory series tournament, that was another time where, again, he decided to do what TNA wanted and help push somebody else rather than take his title shot with losing in the playoff and everything. So sooner or later, they have to give James Storm the title shot. I think they're going to give him the title shot now.
Fair enough, but I got to disagree with you on the Bound for Glory series because that thing was basically Jeff Hardy's to lose. I mean, it was all about the redemption of Jeff Hardy. So I don't think it was such a big deal to have James Storm kind of fall on his sword there. But I could definitely see it. No, as far as the character goes and the guy, I mean, he's great. He hasn't really had a chance like this. He's due.
When you have James Storm go through like 90% of the tournament in first place and then he loses
at the last minute. Yeah. No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point, Rob. I think that's one of those things where you're kind of building James Storm for a future run, but not that one. Anyway, now here we are. We are at the bread and butter, the main event. World Championship match, ladder match. Jeff Hardy versus Austin Aries. Rob, you're the only one saying Austin Aries is going to walk out with the belt.
I know.
Still feel that way? Even after tonight?
Rob, it's weird because, I thought your previous picks were saying what you thought TNA would do versus what you wanted to see, but this match, I'm pretty sure it's what you want to see.
Yeah, and that's why I'm going to change my vote. I want Austin Aries to win, but I think TNA is. I think TNA is in love with Jeff Hardy, and I have to get over my hatred of Jeff Hardy and admit that TNA is probably going to allow him to keep that god-awful abortion of a title.
I don't think TNA is in love with Jeff Hardy so much as they're in love with the merchandise sales numbers. That's where I think it is. I do not want Austin. I mean, I would love for Austin Aries to be awesome and to be at the main event. I think at this point he has cemented that he is now main card from now on. For the foreseeable future. I don't want him to win because, like Joe, I like the idea of having nice, long, steady title matches. Put some honor behind it, some prestige, and ladder match. Jeff Hardy defending the belt in his rematch against Austin Aries. If Aries won, that kind of cheapens the belt a little bit, cheapens ladder matches, cheapens Jeff Hardy just a bit, and I think TNA kind of hurts a little bit more if AA wins. Although, I like Austin Aries as heel, hating on the champion. Not so much now because he looked a little rough around the edges tonight. He's it's an old muscle. He's got to work into it. You got to jog before he can run. But right. Austin Aries as the heel, especially when he was like gearing up for that main event run, it was the best we've ever seen out of him.
And I think that would be, and I think that's one of the reasons why TNA is going with the ladder match here too, is it gives them an out to have Austin Aries lose without really damaging his character.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you have Austin Aries coming out and saying, I'm a wrestler. I don't climb ladders. That's not, so he's TNA is already pushing the thing that, Austin Aries is out of his element, whereas Jeff Hardy is a fucking expert when it comes to ladder matches.
Yeah, the chat right there is saying it. Hardy really wasn't talking bullshit when he said the ladder match is his domain. Things are really stacked against Aries on Sunday. Yeah, I mean this is Hardy's home field advantage is what this is.
But I do have to agree with the chat. Aries winning and melting the Hardy title down to a belt buckle, that would be my win of the freaking decade.
Yeah, I still think we have opportunity there. We have room for that. Chet's also saying I really want to see AJ versus Aries at Final Resolution, but I have a hard time seeing Hardy drop the title so soon. After all, this is Hardy being rewarded for all his hard work to atone for his failings. Yeah, both in front and behind the camera. So I think this is TNA not only putting their trust behind Hardy, but also showing their roster that this isn't politics. If you put in the work, and especially with James Storm too, if James Storm is really pushed here, it's one of those things like we look out for our own. No politics and none of that bullshit that we hear about in WWE. It's,
right.
This is, we take care of you is I think what TNA is essentially saying with Jeff Hardy. All right. So as far as the pay-per-view goes, excited for it? Not excited for it? Garvin, Rob, what do you feel? Rob, do you feel excited?
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. It should be a pretty good pay-per-view. One of the things I like about TNA is, they don't really seem to have that many like down pay-per-views that aren't important.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier too, I like the fact that TNA makes it so that the names of their pay-per-views have a point.
Yeah.
And we saw today, with them using the turning point, somebody's career is going to turn one way, somebody's career is turning another way. They're really pushing that. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what happens.
Okay. Garv?
Yeah, just looking at the card, there's a few obvious filler matches that I know I probably will not enjoy, and that's, like Tara versus ODB, like that mixed tag match. I don't think that's going to be great.
Well, they have to have a few shitty matches so that you can go to the bathroom and or buy merchandise from TNA.
Yeah, the tag match I don't really see a whole lot coming out of either. The Doc versus Joseph Park, I think I'm more interested in just seeing where they go with it, not necessarily the match itself. But everything else on this show should be fantastic. Devon and Kurt Angle should be a great match. Samoa Joe versus Magnus is always really good. That number one contendership 3-way should be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got, the world title match, I think should still be really good. And another match that I'm not totally sold on is RVD versus Joey Ryan, only because RVD has had like 2 or 3 consecutive great matches, and
so
that doesn't happen for RVD very often. So he's got to have a terrible match in him, and it probably is going to be Sunday.
Oh yeah, it's the law of averages. It's not even a statistical anomaly. That guy in the New York Times that predicted the presidential election, I think he did something about it too. All right, apparently I'm the only one that reads a fucking newspaper. Anyway, I'm excited for Turning Point because Chet's saying pretty excited. Not too many predictable matches. That's why I'm so excited. Also, the Aries Hardy ladder match should be worth the price of admission alone. Yeah, that should be pretty good. For me, it's the unpredictability of it. It's the fact that it's a turning point. There's a lot of stuff here that's going on that I think looking back on it 6 months from now, we can really see as saying this was the beginning of something like Magnus and Samoa Joe. Maybe Gallows starts to have a great run, and we could say it started here. For me, another one is Hernandez, just to see him progress further as a wrestler. And then Austin Aries, Jeff Hardy, James Storm, if he does win, TNA showing that they look out for their own. There's a lot of really exciting things as far as the future of TNA, for the next 5 or 6 months that, you could say could start right here, which is very cool. Assuming EY isn't gone.
And like you said, that's one of the other things that I'm really excited about this pay-per-view for, when we're trying to make our predictions, it's a nice change of pace to look at a match and be like, Jesus Christ, I have no idea who's going to win this match. I mean,
either way.
There are more than a few matches where we're taking total stabs in the dark.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of taking that with the number one contendership match. I mean, I'm just taking James Storm just because I just think he's due. All right, so that's it. I do have before we close out the show, I do have a fail. This is probably something that's going to fall on deaf ears for the most part, but my wife got Magic Mike, which is that stripper movie that everybody saw, or that nobody apparently on the show probably saw. Thing is, though, Magic Mike, have you heard about it? It's Steven Soderbergh directed it. It has Channing Tatum in it. He's like a male stripper.
What?
It's all about male strippers.
What?
Anyway, Steven Soderbergh directed it, and he's one of my favorite directors. And he did a phenomenal job with this. Anyway, Kevin Nash is in the movie, and the thing you gotta remember is it's Kevin Nash playing a male stripper. He does not move his lower half at all at any point in the movie.
Are you going to be reviewing this?
That's it. No, I'm not going to review it. I'm only going to say this. This is the most meta moment in the entire time. It's the beginning of the movie. The new character is like new to being a stripper or whatever, and they should introduce Kevin Nash. He's called Tarzan, which is the most ridiculous fucking thing in the world. He is clearly dyed his hair jet black. And he doesn't even. I mean, the only time they show him is when he's being lit by a colored light, so he obviously doesn't look good. But the best part is he essentially passes out backstage.
The chat is begging you to stop, Harrison.
No. He passes out backstage because he was drunk and cannot make it out there. And I thought, this is such a meta moment that he is playing a character that A, can't do his job, and B, can't even subsist backstage, and everybody hates him. I just loved it so much. Because I'm like, really, dude? Did you not read the script and realize this was kind of written for you?
Yeah. Okay. Let's stop this because the live chat's gonna
bail. I'm just saying, it's Steven Soderbergh. He's a phenomenal director. If you want to see it, go ahead. It's great. Anyway, closing. That is it. That's the show. Why not check out FTWpodcast.com for more information about us and how to get involved in the future. There's even a support tab where you can click and donate, buy merch, as well as links there on how to rate us on iTunes and Stitcher. We accept no less than 4 stars because our moms say that's what we're worth. Thank you, everyone in the live chat, for at least getting through the Magic Mike thing. We record every FTW podcast episode on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time at ftwlive.com. And we'll see you guys next week. Oh, another great Steven Soderbergh movie, Girlfriend Experience. It's about a female prostitute. Phenomenal movie. Very creatively edited. All right, so there you go. And we'll see you guys next Tuesday. Later. It actually stars a porn star, too, Sasha Grey. She did a really good job.
All right, we are off.
I was surprised.
I love how Garvin and I just broke into the what?
I was genuinely surprised at the movie. I thought it was going to be kind of, like chick flick sort of thing because that's how the marketing was. But once I saw that Soderbergh directed it, I was watching my Netflix on my iPad for the most part, but I peeked up every now and then to watch it, mostly because every time Kevin Nash was on there, he's like on stage with they have 5 other guys and they're all doing these very elaborate choreographed scenes, and they're like, it's very elaborate. They were all very well trained. And Kevin Nash is and it's great because in this one scene, it's like they have this jungle motif on stage. He is half hidden by a palm tree, just standing there, moving his arms. He looked like someone's dad trying to do it. It was so bad. Why was he in that movie?
Because he needs money.
Oh, why would you cast him in that, though? It's mind-boggling. He couldn't do the job, and at one point his character passes out backstage, and everybody hates him. Oh, my God!
Live chat, I just want you to realize that this is still going on. He has not stopped.
That they hate on it?
No, that you're still talking about this, man.
Oh, can they hear me?
Yes. Goodbye, live chat.
Oh, hi, live chat. Sorry, I thought we said we were off. Although I do want to say...
we were. I faded back in.
Okay, well, I do want to say that if you do want to see a really good movie by Soderbergh, it's called The Girlfriend Experience. It stars Sasha Grey, who's a porn star. She does a pretty good job acting. She's kind of...
So what we've learned tonight is that Harrison likes male strippers and prostitutes.
Rob, I like to live. I like to live wide, Rob. I don't like to just sit in my Midwest little town and subsist on watching football on the weekends and going to wing night on Tuesdays. I like to live wide, and one of those is I do enjoy naked human form and chicks.
Unless it's China.
Unless it's China. God, that was awful. It was just because she was an amateur and she really didn't know what she was doing.
It's Garvin 2.0.
Excuse me, no. I can move the lower half of my body and my knees don't explode when I do a jumping jack. Which, by the way, at one point in the movie, they were all doing jumping jacks except for him. He was just moving his arm.